If the cleric is the priest, the paladin is the warrior, taking up a sacred oath which acts as a code of conduct as the paladin delivers justice across Faerun. In this video today, we're going to be doing a deep dive on another one of our classes for Baldur's Gate 3. This will be a 12-part series where I hope to give you a better idea about each of the classes ahead of the launch of BG3 come August 3rd. Kind of worth noting that this will all be super out of date right on that time. But today we'll be focusing on the Paladin. I'll be pulling information from the 5th edition Player's Handbook, and I'll show off the early access character select screen. There won't be a ton of visuals here because I don't want to spoil anything from the game for myself or for you. Now, how we'll be doing this video is by talking about the base kit without any subclasses, then go into the 3 subclasses we know are coming at launch. It's worth noting that most subclass abilities go up to level 20 in D&D, but the cap in Baldur's Gate 3 is 12. So we'll talk about the high-end abilities because we still aren't sure if they're coming into the game in a modified form, if we'll get DLC or what have you. So we'll pretty much just want to do that, and I wanted to be a bit transparent about it first. Keep in mind, you can fully respec both of your character and companion for the exception of their race. So I encourage you to try out every class you're curious about when the game launches. And please, as always, play how you want, not how the internet tells you to. Lastly, again, too, I am no D&D expert, not even slightly. So I apologize if I missed the mark on any of these descriptions. And if there are any concepts that I don't talk about in this video, I do have a video where I've gone through every big major term like advantages and stuff like that, linked in the upper right hand corner. You can quickly navigate to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And don't forget to swing on by my Twitch where I will be streaming BG3 on launch, linked in the description and pinned comment. Let's get started here on my Paladin class and subclass detailed breakdown for Baldur's Gate 3. Loading into the game with the Paladin, we have our 2 subclasses here in the early access. Only these 2, so when we talk about the actual oaths, we'll be missing one of them here, right? Oath of Nature is not on this. Or I'm sorry, yes it is. Oath of the Ancients is on this. The other subclass is not on this. But also to keep a note, that's Oath of Vengeance. To keep a note here is that Paladin has a hidden subclass with Oathbreaker, which again we'll all talk about, but I want to kind of bring that up front. But the Paladin here is your quintessential knight in shining armor, right? And that's kind of the role you will assume as a Paladin. You get a wisdom and charisma saving throw, but you also have light, medium, and heavy armor proficiency, as well as a shield proficiency, simple and martial weapons, and then you get channel oath, which that's part of the subclass discussion, so we'll wait. But you do get 2 actions that are linked to your class itself. Lay on Hands, which is a healing ability. And the way that Lay on Hands works, because if you look at this, it says, oh, heals for 4, you're like, cool, I guess. Lay on Hands, basically, you can restore a total number of hit points equal to your Paladin level times 5. So that will allow you to really kind of scale things up. This looks like it might be times 4 as a result. I don't know, it says 4 healing. So, and maybe guys, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Lay on Hands, as we all know, it's like the quintessential Paladin major healing spell. Then we also get Divine Sense. Divine Sense is different in the tabletop, but this is the way it works here in Baldur's Gate. Tap into your spiritual awareness to gain advantage on attack rolls against celestial fiends and undead, which is quite nice. It is a bonus action, so it's kind of nice here. So you can, let's say, remember, you use a action and a bonus action in your turn. So technically, you could use Lay on Hands and then Divine Sense in the same turn, just to kind of show you bonus action and action. But let's say a skeleton moves up to you or whatever it is. You can use this Divine Sense and then attack the skeleton if you want, and then get that advantage on attack rolls. And just to kind of give you a real world scenario of what that looks like. This action section we're gonna cover when we talk about the actual oaths themselves. But when it comes to skills here, we get access to athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion here. These 2 are inherited from my background, just kind of keep that in mind. And we also get the religion insight, again, because I'm an acolyte here. So don't rely on those. They're not part of this. You get athletics, intimidation, medicine, and persuasion. I'm looking in the book here. Yeah, athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion, I guess. But regardless, those are your skills here for Paladin. And Paladin here also gets access to some fighting styles. Defense to help give a bonus for to AC, to armor class. Dueling, when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapon, you gain 2 bonus damage to damage rolls. Great weapon fighting, and then protection. So basically you kind of make the decision for yourself. Are you sword and board, or are you two-handed master of the earth? Or are you sword or just single-handed weapon with no shield in the offhand? That's your kind of choice of how you're going to approach the fighting styles for your paladin. Now, Paladin also, of course, casts spells. It is a Paladin, and they'll be pulling from a number of different spells, but they will be using their charisma to determine if they can make those successful spell rolls. So even though this has the little star here for strength, this is very much a charisma class. You cannot let that fall to the wayside here. This is how you will be casting your spells. You also, remember, you get a charisma saving throw proficiency. So these things are important. You're not going to want to just kind of let those things go. Also, Constitution is important because, yeah, sure, if you're going to be up close and personal, you want to be a tank, you want to have good Constitution, but this also is crucial for concentration spells, which the Paladin has in spades. Concentration spells are any spell that you would cast that maintains in play until you break concentration or you break it manually. And if it's your concentration is broken from a concentration check, which is based off of your Constitution. There's so many types of con right there, but basically Constitution is important for you, as is Strength, as is Charisma, as kind of is Wisdom, and kind of is Dexterity, because that's your initiative and your armor class. So the Paladin is definitely a crowded class when it comes to ability score, so please keep that in mind when you do go into it, because we have a lot of other really amazing things that this class does, like Divine Smite. So we know that the Paladin can cast spells, right? And they'll get access up to the 5th level of spells, level 17. For all intents and purposes, as this game is concerned, up to level 12, you will only get access to a max of the 3rd level spells. So, with Divine Smite, rather than, whenever you attack something with a weapon, you can actually add damage to this weapon. And you can add damage based off of a spell slot you want to burn. So let me read this for you. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can expend 1 spell slot to deal radiant damage to the target in addition to the weapon's damage. So let's say the weapon's damage, I'm just going to say like does 1d8. I'm just going to say that term. Well, the extra damage is 2d8 for a 1st level spell slot plus 1d8 for each spell level higher. Let me create that scenario for you one more time. My weapon does, I'm going to say my weapon does 1d10. I'm just going to throw a different term out there. Well, I'm going to use Divine Smite, and I'm going to burn my 1st level spell slot. Well, now I do 1d10 plus 2d8. Remember, that 2 is the number of dice. D is, and then followed by a number, is the number of faces on that die. So, 2d8, I'm rolling 2 8-sided die. Just to kind of keep that in mind here. So when you see stuff like this, yeah, it's 1d4. Okay, that's a 1 4-sided die. Or, you know, other things you can do with math. But this scales out to be 1d8 for each spell level higher than the first. So let's say I did that same scenario, 1d10 weapon damage, but this time I'm doing a level 2 spell slot. So I would do 3d8 additional damage. It caps out at 5d8 in the book. I don't know what they're going to do for BG3, but so again, just to give you an idea of what that would look like, we would go to 2nd, 3rd would be 4. So if we went to the 3rd spell slot, I think that's right, we would be adding 3. Yeah, it would. If we do the 3rd spell slot, like a level 3 spell, it would be 5d8 on top of our 1d10 damage. It's a ton of damage you can dish out if you want to sacrifice using a spell. Remember, a spell slot, you prepare spells to go into those spell slots, and you only have, like at level 2, you get 2 spell slots. So you can only use that ability basically twice, unless you sacrifice all those spell slots in one go. That's kind of convoluted, but you'll understand once you play the game that spell slots are something that you can use as a resource to use Divine Smite. You also will get Divine Health at level 3, which allows you to be immune to disease, and then at level 3 you also will choose your Sacred Oath, which is the Paladin subclass here, right? Your Oath of Devotion, your Oath of Vengeance, your Oath of ancients, what have you. Then you'll also get granted a Channel Divinity ability, very similar to what we talked about with the Cleric, and we'll go into those in the respective sections. At level 5, we get an extra attack, meaning you can attack twice instead of once whenever you take an attack action, which is level 2 for the price of 1. And now you get your auras coming into the 6th and 10th level. Level 6 is the aura of protection, which basically helps out anyone doing a saving throw around you. The creature gains a bonus to the saving throw equal to your charisma modifier. That would be this. So that would be a +2 with a minimum bonus of +1. So basically, anytime someone makes a saving throw around me within a 10-foot radius, they get my +2 to add into their roll, which is lovely, right? At level 18, that expands to 30 feet. Then Aura of Courage at level 10, basically you and any friendly target around you can't be frightened while you are conscious. So you are a very support-oriented character that passively buffs up and helps out your friends. But you can actively do things once we jump into the Sacred Oaths and whatnot. You get improved Divine Smite at level 11, which basically just adds an extra 1d8 to any time you do Divine Smite. Another example here. Let's do my 1d10 weapon attack. I'm doing a first level spell slot. That would give me standard 2d8. Well, with improved Divine Smite, I now do an additional 1d8. So I would do 3d8 additional radiant damage. As convoluted, I know, but trust me, once you see it in the game, it would make 100% sense to you. Oh, okay, got it, cool. Doing the damage. Then we also get Cleansing Touch at level 14, which basically allows you to stop any active spell on someone. So if they're like charmed or they're poisoned, whatever it is, you can just stop a spell if you can touch them. But that is your base Paladin kit. And as you jump into your oaths, things start to get spicy. So what I'm going to talk about with every single oath is what you have to do to maintain that oath. Because the hidden Paladin subclass is Oathbreaker, meaning you've done something that works against the tenets of your oath. And we'll talk about what those individually are in their respective section. And then we'll talk about the Oathbreaker at the end of the video. The first one to talk about is the Oath of Devotion. Paul, the ideal of the knight in shining armor. You act with honor and virtue to protect the weak and pursue the greater good. And here straight from the book, the tenets of devotion are honesty, don't lie or cheat. Courage, never fear to act, though caution is wise. Compassion, aid others, protect the weak, and punish those who threaten them. Honor, treat others with fairness and let your honorable deeds be an example to them. Duty, be responsible for your actions and their consequences. So, since you can already play the Paladin in early access, we've already seen how this actually plays itself out in portions of the game. I'm not going to say what those are because that is a spoiler. But I will say that what this means is you're going to come across things or decisions or dilemmas in your playthrough where you need to be courageous, you need to have honor, you need to speak from a point of compassion, whatever it is. And if you choose not to do that, you will become an Oathbreaker, which changes your subclass. So, which you can then purify from a cleric. It's not hard to change back into that. But still, those are the things you need to kind of act within, a code of conduct, as it were. And the game will tell you if this is against your code of conduct, and where you don't have to guess and go, oh, I walked into that bear trap. But the Oath of Devotion is kind of, to use another word I've used plenty of times now, the true quintessential Paladin. You are a cavalier, a knight in shining armor, the white knight. You are that person. And you get Oath of Devotion spells. So every single oath has spells that are unique to that oath that you can cast outside of your standard Paladin spells. And they do not take up prepared spell slots. They have their own oath spell slots. But, and if someone knows, please again correct me, I think the game has changed this slightly in the channel oath charges. You gain the ability to channel the power contained in your Paladin oath, which you can use to fuel certain actions. So, for example, this person gets Holy Rebuke, which is not technically in the handbook. So call upon your oath to grant an ally a vengeful aura that deals 1d4 radiant damage to anyone who hits them with a melee attack. So this is something that is part of the Oath of Devotion, and it might be taking the spot of the Oath spells, which you would normally get are stuff like Lesser Restoration, Zone of Truth, Protection from Evil and Good, Sanctuary, Beacon of Hope, Dispel Magic for the Oath of Devotion. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but you also get Channel Divinity, which you would unlock at your 3rd level because you complete your oath at your 3rd level, which gives you access to Sacred Weapon, which is quite nifty, wherein you would add your Charisma modifier, that's this right here, to any attack rolls with your weapon, which is obviously lovely. And this thing will actually light the area around you for 20 some odd feet. Another portion of your channel divinity is Turn the Unholy, meaning that anyone that is a fiend, undead, and the like, they can do a wisdom check, and if they fail it, they just run away in terror. At level 7, you get Aura of Devotion, which makes it so that you and friends cannot be charmed within 10 feet. Purity of Spirit makes it so that you are constantly under the effects of protection from evil and good. And then lastly, level 20 gets you access to Holy Nimbus, which is not too unlike Holy Rebuke here. It's basically a aura that appears around you personally that deals 10 radiant damage anytime and someone starts within that 30-foot radius of your aura. So I'm not sure if that's how they're doing it or if they're just changing the way that oath spells work, but I wanted to kind of talk about how those work from the tabletop and compare it to what BG3 might be like. Let's move now into the Oath of the Ancients. Oath of the Ancients is pretty fun here. It's, again, more towards the kind of balance of good and evil, and less so just trying to outright be the best person possible in the room. But with the Oath of Ancients, you fight on the side of light in this cosmic struggle against darkness to preserve the sanctity of life and the beauty of nature. Now, from the actual handbook here, your tenets of the Ancient, what this really kind of means for your code of conduct are: kindle the light. Through your acts of mercy, kindness, and forgiveness, kindle the light of hope in the world, beating back despair. Shelter the light. Where there is good, beauty, love, and laughter in the world, stand against the wickedness that would swallow it. Preserve your own light. Delight in song and laughter and beauty and in art. If you allow the light to die in your own heart, you can't preserve it in the world. That's like a beautiful life lesson. Be the light. Be a glorious beacon for all who live in despair. So basically, you're trying to do things that are always kind of erring towards hope and removing despair and darkness from the world. Also, and this is not a spoiler alert, but doing anything intentionally very nefarious towards well-aligned nature things, like, oh, that's just a helpless Trent, and you kill it, it's not too great with your Oath of the Ancients, so you don't want to do those kinds of things. There's a specific scenario in the game I already know about, but I don't want to bring that up. If you know from playing, please don't say it in the comment section, but you know what I'm talking about. Now, for your spells, you get stuff like Ensnaring Strike, Speak with Animals, Misty Step, Moonbeam, Plant Growth, Protection from Energy. You're basically pulling stuff from like the Druid and Ranger style of spell casting. But with BG3, we get this: the Healing Radiance. Call upon your oath to let nature heal all nearby allies. Your allies immediately regain 3 points and will regain another 3 points at the hit points at the start of your next turn. So it's a nice bonus action to get a little bit of healing going. Not really, again, sure how they're going to be using these channel oath things. If you do know, please let me know in the comment section below. Now, for your channel divinity, you get Nature's Wrath and Turn the Faithless. Nature's Wrath here is basically a ensnaring strike. I guess probably the easiest way to put it. And essentially, you use this and you can root someone into place, and they have to constantly make strength or dexterity throws to break free from the ensnaring roots. Now, Turn the Faithless, the other option for channel divinity, works very similar to Turn the Unholy, right? Which is like fiends and undead. Only Turn the Faithless works for the Fae or fiends, so they just send them running. Aura of Warding trips off at level 7, and that's going to allow you basically to give you extra resistances when you're taking damage from spells. Undying Sentinel allows you, personally, the Paladin, if ever you would basically be reduced to 0 hit points and are not killed outright, you can choose to drop to 1 hit point instead, which is really cool here. You can only use this once every long rest, but it's an awesome way to kind of keep your guy always in the fight. And then Elder Champion is your level 20 ability, which we probably will not see in the game. But here's what it does. I'll read the bullet points. At the start of each of your turns, you basically take on the form of an ancient, and you choose how that looks in the tabletop. But at the start of each of your turns, you regain 10 hit points. Whenever you cast a Paladin spell that has a casting time of 1 action, you cast it using a bonus action instead, meaning you can cast, you can use it and then do another action. Enemy creatures within 10 feet of you have disadvantage on saving throws against your Paladin spells and channel divinity options. So it's really, really awesome. Really awesome way to just kind of dish out a ton of spell action and have a lot of fun with your character. But that is your Oath of the Ancients. Let's go into our last one. Well, kind of last one, right? With Oath of Vengeance. So the Oath of Vengeance is probably the one I would personally go with my Paladin. And this is definitely a Paladin that is an anti-Paladin, more or less. You are the ends justify the means. That's kind of the way it goes for you, right? You usually have some sort of tragic, wild backstory that has driven you towards, well, mass amounts of vengeance. So here are your tenets. Fight with greater evil. Fight the greater evil. Faced with the choice of fighting my sworn foes or combating a lesser evil, I choose the greater evil. No mercy for the wicked. Ordinary foes might win my mercy, but my sworn enemies do not. By any means necessary. My qualms can get in the way of exterminating my foes, and restitution. If my foes wreak ruin on the world, it is because I failed to stop them. I must help those harmed by their misdeeds. So that's your Oath of Vengeance. And your spells are stuff like Bane, Hunter's Mark, Hold Person, Misty Step, Haste, Protection from Energy, Banishment, Dimension Door. Basically stuff that allows you to get up close and personal, or prevents anyone from fleeing from you, or allows you to deal more damage to them. That's the big thing here, is trying to get advantage, disadvantage against targets, trying to prevent their movement or increase your movement to close that distance. Your channel divinity is either Abjure Enemy or Vow of Enmity. Abjure Enemy allows you to basically turn, just like you could turn Unholy or turn Undead, any single target. You're just choosing a specific creature to do this to instead. You get an advantage to this, or I'm sorry, Fiends and Undead have a disadvantage to the saving throw on this, but basically they are frightened and they move at half speed, which is lovely. Vow of Enmity, though, allows you to basically choose an enemy, and you gain advantage on attack rolls against the creature, which allows you just to basically just dumpster them as fast as you can if you so wish. You have decided that it is them that is your target. Relentless Avenger comes in at level 7 here, and basically whenever you do an opportunity attack, so this is times that people would go to leave your close combat range, you get an opportunity attack on them. You can then move up to half your speed immediately after the attack as part of the same reaction to kind of close the distance and not let them get away from you. Soul of Vengeance is at level 15. And basically, anything that has your Vow of Enmity on them, you can act whenever they attack you. You can do a reaction and attack them back immediately, which is really cool and fun. That is level 15. I'm not sure we're going to get it. And the Avenging Angel is our level 20, which again, I'm not sure we're going to get, but it's pretty sick. So wings sprout from your back and grant you a flying speed of 60 feet. You emanate an aura of menace in a 30-foot radius. The first time any enemy enters the aura or starts its turn there during a battle, the creature must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become frightened. So you basically constantly have Abjure Enemy up as an aura around you, and you're moving around hot and heavy with huge wings on your back to kill everything. So that is your Oath of Vengeance. But what happens if you break any of your oaths on any of your subclass paladins and become an Oathbreaker? And what happens if you become an Oathbreaker? Well, lots of things. You start to gear more towards actual undead stuff now. You get the ability to control undead, so use the power of your oath to gain control over an undead creature, which you would use with your channel oath charges. You get Dreadful Aspect, let your darkest emotions burst forth as a menacing pulse to frighten nearby enemies. You get Hellish Rebuke, which is not unlike the Holy Rebuke. This does 1d4 radiant damage. Hellish Rebuke does 2d10. The next time you take damage, you use your reaction to surround your attackers in hellish flames. On save, target will take half the damage. And you also get an ability called Inflict Wounds, a 3d10 necrotic spell. So those are some of the spells that you get access to as a Oathbreaker. And that Oathbreaker really leans into this role of being probably a true anti-paladin, right? Someone who actually can really leverage all those things. They get an aura of hate that happens at level 7. They gain a bonus to melee weapon damage rolls equal to your charisma modifier. That would be this right here, yet again. And any a creature can benefit from this feature from only one paladin at a time. And basically, you can do this to any friend or undead. Because remember, you can control undead. You can cast this on them, on whoever he wants. It's an aura. You get Supernatural Resistance, which is going to give you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from non-magical weapons. And you get Dreadlord at level 20 here. That basically sucks the light out of the room, which is which is so sick. Any enemy that is frightened by you takes 4d10 psychic damage from the tabletop. So, and also, while the aura lasts, you can use a bonus action on your turn to cause the shadows in the aura to attack one creature. Make a melee spell attack against the target. If the attack hits, the target takes 3d10 plus your charisma modifier, that's this right here, necrotic damage. It is so sick. Now, how do you back up? Like, how do you undo the Oathbreak? Well, there is a Oathbreaker Knight in the camp. When you play the game, you pay 2,000 gold, and you can undo this and jump back into your oath. And if you do this at a higher level, you'll retroactively get everything that you would have gotten had you done it at a lower level. So if you want to become an Oathbreaker for your Paladin, but just do it at a later point in the game because maybe that's the RP you've created in your head, well, then there you go. If you do it by accident at a later point in the game, well, still, you're fine. You can just simply go to that Oathbreaker Knight and get this undone. But it's still a pretty cool way to play the class, because you get stuff eventually like Animate Dead, Bestow Curse, Blight, and Confusion. All sorts of fun stuff for your Oathbreaker Paladin. And there we go. We have all of your Paladin subclasses plus the hidden Paladin subclass of Oathbreaker. So if this helps you decide which one to go about, or which of the oaths you want to break to become the Oathbreaker, I think Paladin is one of the ones that a lot of people are going to play. I'm between right now a Ranger Knight Beast Tamer, Beast Master, or a Oath of Vengeance Paladin, potentially Oathbreaker. Those are the two that are just stuck within my head. I cannot decide between. But go ahead and let me know in the comment section below which oath you'll be taking as a Paladin. Are you going to play a Dragonborn Oath of Vengeance Paladin, which I think I did not realize is so common. I was like, oh, that's the one I'll do. And then I kept seeing in my comment section, it's like everyone's doing that. So I guess that's a cool combination. But as always, guys, let me know what the next one you want to see. We've got Rogue coming up tomorrow. Then after that, maybe Fighter, maybe Barbarian, maybe a Sorcerer or Wizard. We haven't really jumped too much into the casting classes just yet, so we can do those next. But as always, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.